Hmm. Good morning. I'm just going to do the title and blurb this morning and then I'll jump into it. 2012. My favorite song is Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. Before I fell asleep last night, an idea came to me for today's video. However, I can't remember even after meditation. So, with time running out, I decided to do a video about my favorite song. I can never listen to it only once, and I often end up hearing several versions by different performers. It always moves me to tears, since it so eloquently paints a picture of the highs and lows of human life. Perhaps that is why so many artists can do the song with such great depth of feeling. I'm correcting a mistake that I made so that I don't not correct it later. Save it. Anyway, yesterday was one of those days that I believe someone sent me the song, and I listened to that version of it by someone from Holland. It was from the Netherlands. And I proceeded to listen to several others, including K.D. Lang, which is one of my favorite, and Rufus Wainwright, and let's see, who are some of these other people? Jeff Buckley. Anyway, I pulled it up after I wrote that blurb. I pulled it up on Wikipedia just to look at some history, and I didn't realize that was all the way back to 1984, and that when he originally wrote the song, his publishers didn't want to put it on the album. They didn't even want to include it. And since then, it has become somewhat even of a standard. There's been nearly 200 performers that have done the song as covers, not to mention all the karaoke and other things that other times it's been done. It's a moving song depicting Samson and Delilah. She cut your hair and drew the hallelujah, and David and Beth, the story of David and Bathsheba. I didn't know there were several versions of it, although I have noticed different people did it. But even Leonard Cohen himself, apparently when he was on tour, would do different versions, and sometimes only the last verse was the same. So I didn't know that, you see, that there were so many versions. I thought other writers sometimes changed a word or two here and there that I've heard, but that's not uncommon. It's done rather commonplacely. I did watch a bit of an interview on one of the things. I don't know if it was yesterday or recently, but when he talked about the song and the deep challenges that we face as humans. And I suppose that's why I can relate to it, because there's so much bittersweetness in the song of mountaintop experiences, peak experiences, and then experiences that take you down into the valley. And such is life, which I suppose, as I said, is why the song is so moving for me. I mean, inevitably, it brings tears to my eyes. It doesn't matter even who sings it. It's an amazing song, and if you're not familiar with it, I suggest that you Google this song and listen to it by 2 or 3 different artists. Make sure Leonard Cohen is one of them, but listen to it by a couple of different people at least, and you'll be amazed. Or at least, if you resonate at all like I do, you'll be amazed at the emotions that come up as this song is sung with such depth and feeling by Leonard and others. So I feel like that's about all I want to say about this, and it's only been not even 5 minutes yet, but I'm not going to stop. I'm going to talk about life a little bit, because in 2012 here, we definitely are experiencing peak expectations and grave disappointments when some of those expectations get dashed on the rocks. We see things happen in our lives that sometimes there's just no making sense for it. And then you have the people tell you, well, you're creating your own reality, Ron. You're the one that's doing this. You have no one to blame but yourself. And I know that's true, and I do take responsibility for my life. But oftentimes things happen that I don't feel I have any control whatsoever over, except in how I'm going to respond to it. I certainly have no conscious recollection of how I could possibly have created such scenarios. And I'm sure that's true in your life and the lives of everyone that is honest with themselves, that isn't living on some new age, positive mental attitude, wishful thinking mentality type of thing. I mean, yeah, there are people that sugarcoat everything and see the world only through rose-colored glasses, and they don't give themselves permission for the bittersweet experiences of life. Oh, I'm sure they go through them, but they would probably never admit it, certainly not publicly, or certainly not publicly to everyone like I do, to put it out in the public airwaves. But there are times that I have been so elated, like when, as I said, when lately there's been a lot of legal stuff. So I'm going to talk about that because it's a very real part of my life. Just today I got another email saying if you enter into their courts, you are a debtor and you are playing their game. You can't enter their courts because you've got to figure out a way to get justice without using the justice system, because the justice system is their system. And this thinking of theirs and ours has to stop. There's no such thing as their system. Everything belongs to all of us. And I think that's why the song rings so true, because it's all our experience of life. The ecstasy and the agony. It's our experience of life. And the legal system, yes, it was developed by the elite. It was developed by and for the bankers and their attorneys and their judges and their politicians and their corporatitions. I don't know if that's a word, but the people that run the corporations. It was developed for their benefit and to enslave humanity. So, yes, it's their law. It's their system. And it's time that, in my opinion, that we start using their system when they abuse their rights by trampling on the rights of others. And when they abuse their oaths of office, when they abuse their public responsibility and their accountability. We need to use their laws, because that's what exists, to bring them into balance, or at least to try to check the unabridged demonic influences that have run rampant on our world, and people are now finally in 2011 and 2012 becoming aware as never before. It's time that the hallelujahs resonate, the praise gods resonate to the heavens, and allow the angelic realm to recognize, hey, there's sorrow here and we want the joy. The joy of the Lord is our strength. So we want to get into that joy, but we've got to deal with all this crap in our world. We want to have to deal with all this legalities and all this phony money system and phony governments, and everything is inside out and upside down, where as I don't remember who did the quote now, and somebody's I'm sure going to tell me, but it comes to mind how the lawyers destroy justice, and religion destroys spirituality, and doctors destroy health, and pharmaceutical industries destroy health, and governments destroy peace, and banks destroy everything. The modern banking system, the modern financial system destroys everything that's valuable, everything that's worthwhile. in our lives. This is the stuff that life puts in front of us. This is what we have to deal with as human beings here on earth. And I know there are some of you that don't want to deal with it. There's some of you that want to wash your hands of the whole thing and pretend it doesn't exist and go out and live in the woods. And if that's your calling, fine. But what about everybody else? You're connected to everybody else. And I've probably been a hermit in some of my past lives. I've probably been where some of you would like to be now. I've probably been there and I've probably done that. I'm sure I've been there and done everything. I'm an old soul, for God's sake. And I'm tired of this game, and yet I want everybody to come home. I love the whole freaking world. I love all the religions. I love everybody, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of what nation they come from or what language they speak, regardless of what their sexual orientation is, regardless of whether they're good or bad. I see everyone as a child of God because I'm an inclusionist. I'm not an exclusionist. That's why I fight for the rights of the underdog. I will always do that. And when I'm the underdog, I will fight for my rights against a system that has gone absolutely insane, where everything is inside out and upside down and backwards. Nothing is as it's supposed to be, as I see it, as my heart cries out to make sense of all this insanity. To produce something that touches people's hearts enough to actually change people where it matters, not just in changing laws and changing external behavior, but in getting through to the heart and awakening the passion within the human heart, awakening that flame of freedom that I talk about so often, awakening the compassion that people need to have when they see injustice and they want to do something to help the person who is playing the role of the victim. And yes, they are roles. I know that. I get that. But they are roles that touch our lives and move us deeply, deeply, deeply. Listen to songs that move you. I don't listen to music enough, actually. And so yesterday, as I was preparing to go to hear my son's band play and other bands, when he called me, I was in such an emotional state that I wanted to stay there. And I said, as long as I get to hear the last two groups, I'm fine. And I actually got to hear the last three groups of six. But I got to spend some time out listening to music. And my son's other band, many of you have heard Elephant Gun, not the Melbourne, Australia version, but the Melbourne, Florida version. But there's another band he plays in called the Brevard Busking Coalition, or the Buskers. And it's a 6-piece band, and they probably play 20 different, in the set that I watched last night for about an hour, they probably played 15 to 20 different instruments, and they rearrange. I mean, it's not like my son gets up and plays the 5-string bass in one of the songs, and he's a drummer. And they all switch places and play different instruments, and I mean, every single one of their songs is totally different. I mean, they are one of the most unique bands I have ever heard in my entire life. I've not heard bands like them. Their music is so diverse and so creative. It just blows me away. And I like it when I can get out and hear live music and live musicians. And we are blessed here in Brevard County, Florida, to have some amazing, absolutely amazing musicians. I joked around with a few of the people last night because one of the bands is an all-girls band called, oh boy, I don't remember the name right off the top of my head right now. So Sounds of Nebula. And it's a 4-piece all-girls band. And I was watching the bass player, and one of my friends that I was sitting with, she's the most beautiful bass player in Brevard County. And that's true. And I was watching as she plays, and her hands don't move a whole lot. I mean, there's one hand, on the string, and one hand over of frets where she's, picking, and another one where she's doing the note thing, but she's pretty much staying right in one spot. And I said, boy, she's so much better than Dave Pastorius, who is, uh, who is, what was his famous uncle? Uh, God, I forgot his uncle's name, but he was one of the most famous bass players of his time, and Dave Pastorius is his nephew, and he's got to be one of the most fantastic bass players I've ever seen personally. But I joked around. I said, she's better than Dave. She knows where the notes are. Dave's going all over the place looking for them. And he says, that's funny. That was the leader of the buskers, Jared, that I said that to, and then I shared it with a few other people after that. But it is absolutely amazing to see how much music can move us. And every time that I get moved, like I did yesterday with the several versions of Hallelujah and a few other songs that came up as I did the YouTubes, and I'd say, oh, I got to hear that one, and even though it wasn't Hallelujah. And I listened to music for over an hour yesterday, just, on YouTube, listened before I even went to hear the live music. So it was an interesting day yesterday, and I want to encourage you, each of you, to get in touch with the wide range of human emotion that's within you. Don't shut anything down. Spend time with the sadness. Spend time with the disappointment. And yes, don't leave out the joy either. Don't leave out the ecstasy and the pleasure. It's all good. It's all good. And we need to embrace life and recognize that everything is ours. Nothing that anybody created is just theirs. All of our creations are gifts that we share with each other. And bear that in mind as we transform the world together here in 2012. And as we move to right some of the wrongs and to bring justice where injustice has prevailed, and to correct situations that have brought human suffering and crimes against humanity. It's not about them, folks. It's about all of us embracing all of life and changing the way we express with each other. I'm going to leave it at that. Bless you and namaste. Thank you so much for listening.